everyone. Thanks for joining us on Chicago Tonight. I'm Brandis Friedman. Here's what we're looking at. How 2 potential gas rate hikes could impact your monthly heating bill.
Kids come first. Their growth socially and emotionally as human beings.
Looking at the importance of black male role models in the classroom. We explain the history of redlining and how it began in Chicago.
Clean slate, clean slate, clean slate, clean slate.
Plus, a clean slate and a new beginning. We explain. We kick things off right after this.
Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by the Alexandra and John Nichols family, the Polk Brothers Foundation, and the support of these donors.
Your monthly heating bill could be going up. That's if the Illinois Commerce Commission approves a $202 million rate increase for Peoples Gas, which supplies natural gas to nearly 900,000 Chicagoans. The company says it would mean a monthly bill increase of about $10 to $11. Meanwhile, Nicor Gas, which has 2.3 million customers in northern Illinois, is also requesting a rate hike of $221 million. The company says the increase would add less than $6 to monthly bills. Both companies say the money will be used to upgrade infrastructure as a matter of public safety. Here's David Schwartz with Peoples Gas.
We must have a safe, reliable heating system in Chicago. The pipes currently running underneath the ground are nearing the very end of their useful lives. And the closer it gets to the actual end of their useful lives, which is coming before too long, the risk of an issue becomes a much greater concern.
Joining us are Abe Scar, director of the Illinois Public Interest Research Group, a consumer advocacy organization, and Jim Chilson, communications director for Citizens Utility Board. We should note that we did invite representatives from both Nicor Gas and Peoples Gas. Nicor did not respond, but we do have a statement from a news release, and Peoples Gas declined our invitation, but did do a Zoom interview with one of our producers earlier today. I thank the both of you for joining us tonight. So I want to get both of your reactions to what we just heard. What is your response to the idea, to the request from both Peoples and Nicor Gas companies that these hikes are necessary to improve infrastructure and prevent a public health issue? Abe, I'll start with you, please.
So the utilities are responsible for maintaining safe and reliable infrastructure, but this should be put in the context of the multiple rate hikes that these utilities have already put into place over many years. Nicor has raised rates already by 137% since 2017, and Peoples Gas rates have effectively doubled over the last decade. And we believe that while there is some important need for investment, in particular in Peoples Gas with their old iron pipes, a lot of times what we found is they're over-investing and spending wastefully in ways that drive up their profits and drive up our bills, but don't necessarily deliver those safety improvements that they're talking about.
Jim?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they always talk about maintaining the system. Everybody agrees that the gas companies need to maintain their system, but they should do it in a way that doesn't bankrupt customers, and that's what's been happening. We have a good portion of Chicago under a heating affordability crisis right now. These companies have been on spending sprees over the last 10 to 15 years, and they've increased rates, they've doubled rates in that time, and at the same time, they've been making monster profits. Peoples Gas has made record profits 7 out of the last 8 years. Nicor Gas, over this time, it's been raising rates multiple times since 2017. It's raked in profits. Its parent company has made profits of about $30 billion. So this company is rolling in profits.
Jim, as we mentioned earlier, if approved, that People's gas rate hike would add about $10 to $11 to the monthly heating bill. How does that increase fit into sort of like the broader picture of rising costs for other necessities that lots of people are experiencing, and what kind of burden might that make for households?
You hit the nail on the head. We're already seeing people who are dealing with an affordability crisis. They're having a hard time paying the rent. They're having a hard time paying for groceries and prescriptions. And now you're going to add, for People's Gas, it's $10 to $11 per month. For Nicor Gas, it's about $6 per month. Granted, they just got a $168 million rate hike, which was about $4 a month. You add those two together, that's about a $10 a month increase. People call us and say, what the heck is wrong with our gas bills? And we say these companies have been on spending sprees.
Is it possible that they underestimated when they went out for the most previous or the most recent rate hike, or were they, and this is, speculation, but were they, suspecting, oh, well, they're not going to give us that one that big, so let's start small and incrementally increase? Or did they just underestimate what they believe they need?
Well, they asked for about twice as much as they got in the last rate hike, and parties like the Citizens Utility Board, Illinois PIRG, the Office of the Illinois Attorney General were able to, we believe, document that a lot of that spending that they were requesting was unnecessary. That rate hike was unnecessary, and the regulators of the Illinois Commerce Commission agreed and cut Nicor's rate hike by roughly 50%. Yeah. And to come back months later and ask again, I think shows a lot of chutzpah.
I mean, they might say it is a reflection of the fact that they needed what they needed in the first place, but let's hear from them, because People's Gas says that the rate hike is needed to comply with requirements from the Illinois Commerce Commission. Let's listen.
The Illinois Commerce Commission directed us to retire more than 1,000 miles of old, corroding iron underground pipes from Chicago's heating system. This is large-scale, complicated construction, and the ICC set an accelerated deadline for completing it. That is why we filed this request, to be able to do the work that the ICC directed us to do.
Jim?
Yeah, the ICC did not order them to do business as usual. Business as usual has been this company overspending, being over budget, and being behind schedule. The ICC's order said, let's do this in a timely and cost-effective manner, and let's consider things other than just replacing pipes. People's Gas has just gone forward with a business as usual format, and that is what's leading to these multiple rate hikes.
Abe, in response to People's Gas, to their announcement, Illinois PIRG wrote, quote, despite People's Gas spending billions of dollars on pipe replacement, multiple outside expert reviews have found the program was not improving safety in proportion to the utility's spending. Are the improvements that the company is making, are they reflective of the money that they are spending and asking for?
We don't think so, and that's what the experts found as well, that they've been spending a lot of money, but when you look at the failure rates of the pipes, the risks they're supposed to be addressing, we haven't seen that improvement in safety in any proportion to the billions of dollars that they're spending. And what the ICC said in this order was, we need you to change the way you're doing this program, focus more on those risks, and don't necessarily default to replacement as the only strategy to address those risks. And we think there are other more cost-effective strategies that will actually address those risks and make us safer without bankrupting Chicago gas customers.
The ICC is expected to review People's Gas, their request, over the next 11 months. What are you doing to make your case, and what are some of those other improvements, changes that you think they can make that would cost less?
Well, we in CUB and others will hire experts, and we have lawyers who will be part of the process to make our case, and it's just starting. We're going to spend the next couple months really digging into the details. Some of these other alternatives include pipe relining. This involves inserting a liner into the pipe that can eliminate leaks and extend the life of the pipe by 100 years. And it eliminates one of the biggest costs of pipe replacement, which is, and one of the biggest inconveniences, jacking up the streets and replacing all the infrastructure in the streets. We also think in some circumstances we should be looking at electrifying some homes and transitioning off the gas system, especially, again, if it's more cost effective and reduces that safety risk that's inherent in any gas pipe.
Right. Well, electricity is a whole other conversation. We just had that last week as well with regards to data centers and their impact on the electricity grid. But moving over to Nicor Gas, because they are asking the ICC for a $212 million rate increase that would allow, quote, to continue making strategic investments that help enhance the safety, reliability, and resilience of its natural gas system, especially during extreme weather, while also complying with state and federal safety standards. Jim, I guess I want to look at the big picture. Two big gas companies asking for millions and millions in rate hikes. What would you say this is a reflection of?
Well, we would say it's a reflection of greed, unfortunately, and consumers are hurting over this. It's actually even worse with Nicor. It's a $221 million rate hike request, $10 to $11 a month, or excuse me, a $6 increase.
A month.
But you know, overall, what's been happening, we've been seeing is that gas companies, not only in Illinois, but across the country, have been going on a spending spree. They've been spending a lot on capital work, and they do that because they can make a return on that, and they can make higher profits. Both Peoples Gas and Nicor Gas are asking for profit rates for their shareholders of well over 10%. That is absolutely excessive, and that's one of the things we're going to be focusing on in this rate case.
I guess, what's been your reaction, Abe, to Nicor's request in this justification?
Well, the thing to remember with Nicor is, unlike Peoples Gas, they do not have a large volume of old at-risk pipes. They dealt with those years ago. What they've done is taken the opportunity by a now defunct state law to ramp up their spending to more than triple their annual capital spending for reasons Jim articulated. And now that that law is over and they've dealt with some of their safety risks, I think their spending should go back down. They want to create a new normal where they can file rate hikes every year, every other year, and basically take as much money out of Northern Illinois as they can.
Few seconds left, Jim. One of the companies argues that compared to other major cities and metropolitan areas, gas prices here are still relatively low.
They should, the gas companies should talk to the people who call CUB, who are far too many, are struggling to afford their bills. They leave out conveniently the fact that there are large portions of the city that are in a heating affordability crisis. In November alone, about 150,000 people had $65 million in debt with this company. They're going overboard.
Okay, all right, that's where we'll have to leave it. Best of luck to the both of you. To the folks paying heating bills. We'll have to leave it there. Abe Scar and Jim Chilson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Up next, how cultural competency impacts CPS students. Across Illinois, the teaching workforce remains predominantly white and female. Chicago Public Schools reflect that same trend despite most students being young people of color. Black male teachers are especially underrepresented. According to the most recent CPS figures available, black men make up just 3.6% of the district's teachers. In partnership with students at Northwestern University's Medill School of Journalism, we look at the implications. Here's Mackenzie Kirkwood.
The more children can see folks that look like them, that talk like them, that understand the cultural nuances that they have, the little bit easier it becomes to teach them. The little bit easier it becomes to reach them.
Wayne Issa has spent 26 years working in CPS. He teaches honors math at South Shore High School.
I still love seeing the light bulb go off. I love seeing them get it. You know, like, wow, okay.
According to the most recent figures from 2022, black male teachers like Issa make up just 3.6% of all CPS teachers.
If I am thought of as inherently deviant, what does a school space look like for me?
University of Illinois Chicago professor David Stovall studies the impact of race on educational outcomes. He says the trauma and hypersurveillance that many black youth experience can be seen again in adulthood.
So the same regulatory things that have happened to black youth in schools are the exact same thing that happened when that same grouping of black folks try to enter the teaching force.
In a statement, CPS says that this school year, the percentage of black teachers increased from 14% to 20%. The district did not provide current data broken down by gender. However, Disney 2 Magnet High School educator Joshua Smith, who's been teaching in CPS for 5 years, says he's yet to see the increases hit the halls of his school.
But I think at Disney there are a decent amount of male educators in general. It's just that I'm the only black male educator at the school.
According to CPS data, there's one black educator for every 21 black students, compared to one white educator for every 3 white students. Smith says his presence at Disney 2 is about more than just academics.
I have students who I don't even teach that will see me in the building and will come up and say hi to me or like give me dap or like come get some snacks from my room. Like students who I've never taught that maybe at the like middle school, what have you. I've had students that be like, man, like you're the only black male teacher in the building. Like I wish I had your class. Even though they're being taught by great teachers, right? Just being in the presence, I guess, of a loving, caring black male figure, like, you know, means a lot to so many students, and not even just the black students in general.
The Trump administration is threatening to withhold federal dollars from CPS over its Black Student Success Plan. While the plan purports to close opportunity gaps, the Trump administration claims it violates the Civil Rights Act. Despite this program being targeted by the White House, another program is having an impact. At Chicago State University, Program Director Jermaine Morales runs the Call Me Mr. program, which recruits, supports, and provides 4-year tuition assistance to young black men wanting to be teachers.
So with the Call Me Mr. program, we just try to prepare our misters to sort of walk in some type of classroom environment and just prepare them to deal with any type of situation and give them the confidence they need. Our overall goal is to make sure they lead this institution and they're productive citizens and they're prepared to teach in any situation in any school district, and I'm happy to say that I'm doing my part to try to prepare these individuals to make a mark in the world.
As CPS and programs like Call Me Mr. work to build a more diverse teaching workforce, representation in the classroom affects not only how students respond, but how teachers teach. For Issa, his day-to-day approach is rooted in caring for his students.
I teach kids math. Whereas some people teach math to kids. The kids come first. Their growth academically, their growth cognitively, their growth socially and emotionally as human beings. Once they see that you care about them on all those levels, then they open up to learn the math.
For WTTW and Northwestern's Medill School of Journalism, I'm Mackenzie Kirkwood.
You can see this story and others produced in partnership with Northwestern's Medill School of Journalism on our website. Up next, how redlining shaped Chicago communities in ways still being felt today.
Reflecting the people and perspectives that make up our communities, this story is part of Chicago Tonight, Black Voices.
Ending racial discrimination in housing was a cornerstone of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s mission. Despite the progress that was made, we still see the impact of discriminatory practices today. In tonight's episode from our digital series, WTTW News Explains explores the history of redlining and its origins right here in Chicago. To this day, Chicagoans live in a fairly segregated city, with the vast majority of the black population living on the city's south and west sides, the Latino population on the west and northwest sides, and the white population on the north side. And that segregation didn't happen by coincidence, but by design. It dates back to a time when blacks were prevented from buying homes, not only by real estate agents who steered prospective black buyers to black neighborhoods, but also by banks and the federal government through a process called redlining. Put simply, redlining is the act of denying people access to credit because of where they live and who they are, even if they're qualified borrowers. So how did early to mid-20th century Chicago use redlining to deny many blacks from achieving the American dream? Here's Chicago, circa the early 20th century, color-coded by the Federal Homeowners Loan Corporation and Federal Housing Administration to indicate where it was safe to lend and insure mortgages. The areas color-coded green or blue indicated neighborhoods with A or B ratings, considered the best or desirable areas for them to insure a mortgage. A yellow or C rating meant the neighborhood was declining, and red or D meant hazardous. As you can guess, those neighborhoods rated red were largely black and deemed too risky to insure mortgages. A 1940 appraiser's map refers to some redline Chicago neighborhoods as virtually 100% Negro, overcrowded, and blighted. Another notes an increasing encroachment of Negroes. Furthermore, blacks were often prevented from moving into new, developing communities due to racially restrictive covenants or clauses, pioneered by Chicago realty groups, explicitly prohibiting blacks from purchasing that property. The inability to get federally insured home mortgages made blacks vulnerable to predators who sold them houses on contract, giving the illusion of a mortgage with none of the normal protections. It wasn't until the federal government enacted the Fair Housing Act in 1968, just days after the assassination of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., that redlining was made illegal and the barriers started to come down. Unfortunately, the Fair Housing Act contained few provisions for enforcement, and so in many ways, the red ink of segregation remains today. You can see more of our Emmy Award-winning series, WTTW News Explains, on our website at WTTW.com/explains. And we're back with more right after this. Some Illinois residents with previous criminal convictions are now getting a more streamlined path to having their records cleared. Governor J.B. Pritzker last week signed the Clean Slate Act. The law will now automate the state's record sealing system process for people with certain nonviolent convictions.
There is no reasonable public safety justification for making it hard for returning citizens to get a job or housing or an education. It's a policy guided by punishment rather than rehabilitation.
Late last year, we spoke with activists to look at the impact they say this new law would have.
Nobody's asking what was your experience when you go through these programs.
Activist Marlon Chamberlain has been driving this issue for a long time.
If you filled out a slip, made a phone call, sent the email, like this is a win for us. Like we went to the Capitol saying, Clean slate can't wait.
He and thousands of others like him have finally notched a win.
Feels good, feels good. But the way I'm wired, my brain is instantly thinking about implementation, but this was a huge milestone.
He's referring to the Clean Slate Act, passed during the fall veto session in Springfield. The legislation is designed to automate the sealing of certain criminal offenses. Currently, more than 2 million people in Illinois are eligible to have their records sealed, but haven't acted on what is currently a cumbersome, lengthy process.
You can talk to one person who would say, hey, because I was well connected, supported in sort of like the nonprofit space, I had access to attorneys, and so for me it took 6 months. But then there are some who we've spoken to where it's been a 3-year waiting period where it's court dates that were rescheduled, canceled, or you didn't have access to an attorney.
That's not true justice. Justice is when it's fair and equitable and open for everyone.
State Senator L.G. Sims was one of the bill's chief sponsors.
Sealing allows for law enforcement, allows for certain governmental entities to still have access to the information. It wouldn't make the public any less safe, but it would make that information not available to private entities, so that individuals would have access to housing, access to employment, access to education.
Give her a hand, y'all. Give her a hand.
37-year-old Julian Sims was released from prison 3 years ago after serving time on drug-related charges.
When I was incarcerated, I got my culinary areas. I actually had my electrician certification in there too.
Could you get a job as an electrician after you got out?
No, because what they told me was I wasn't allowed to go on people's houses because I was a criminal. I have a background.
As with the current sealing laws, the legislation only applies to misdemeanors, ordinance violations, and Class 1 through 4 felony convictions, unless they involve violence. So, no murder convictions, DUIs, or Class X felonies like armed robbery or sexual assault. The new legislation also removes the drug testing requirement to seal felony drug convictions. Chamberlain, a longtime advocate and someone who's served time for federal drug charges himself, says passing the Clean Slate Act is just the beginning. Hundreds of state and local laws prevent system-impacted people from moving on.
There's restrictions around volunteering at your children's schools, certain professional licensing that folks can't have with the rest of the conviction record. So there's a list over 1,000 statutes that we have cataloged that still exist. And our goal is to build a permanent institution so that we can continue long after Marlon decides to retire. We want this fight continued until we have eliminated all of those statutes.
For now, Julian Sims says a clean slate is at least a start.
I want to start a really like a class that I could teach automotive so that I could put in my neighborhoods to grow my neighborhood, because I feel if they got more opportunities, they got other better ways to grow.
They get a lot of grant money.
Some Republican lawmakers did vote against the bill, saying it allows criminals to repeatedly get their records clean without repercussions. The law goes into effect next summer, before the first phase of records will be automatically sealed on January 1st, 2029. And that's our show for this Monday night. Stay connected with our reporters and what they're working on by following us on Instagram at WTTW Chicago. And join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and a special time at 11. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, I'm Brandis Friedman. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy and safe, and have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm and sponsor of programming that offers continuing education to fellow legal practitioners in Illinois.